It's in your best interest.
It's only awkward because the mayor's already sitting here, not running in.
So,
Okay, it's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, candidates, for coming this evening. I assume that's all candidates out there, but you never know. So we've got no presentations this evening, no public hearings. So we will open it up for public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items not on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. And only rules, no profanity, no personal attacks, and you have a 5-minute time limit. Clock is up to your left. With that, I will open the floor for public comment. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a councilman that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. Moving on, no planning and zoning consent agenda, no committee recommendations, no old business. We go right to new business. This is consider applicants for city council. And Sharon, were you going to put something up? Oh, there we go. Okay. Did you want to go through this, or did you want me to do? You let me do this. Okay, great. Thanks.
It's your item, Mayor.
So the vacancy process. Let me skip up to that. So transparent, fair, and equitable. The names and applications of applicants were released to the public. The interview process and questions were also released, and each applicant is asked the same questions and given the same time limit. So just to reiterate, when a vacancy came up, we followed the guidelines set forth by Charter Ordinance number 27 and the governing body rules of procedure, and we began the appointment process for a new council member. There was a vacancy advertised in print and social media with an application deadline of December 20th. We also hold over applications for, I believe, up to a year, and if you're interested, you can resubmit that same application. And there were 6 original applicants, and they were reviewed by the governing body. One has decided to take his name out of the running, so we're down to 5. And we're at the point then where we will do the public interviews at the city council meeting. And again, this is public knowledge. This has been out for a while, but the process we're going to go through tonight, we're going to go in alphabetical order, my last name. And each applicant will provide a 2-minute opening statement, which will include the attributes they believe would bring to the city council and how they have prepared for the position. And we will be keeping a time. City clerk will keep the time, and I apologize ahead of time. I don't want to be rude, but we'll cut you off at your time limit, so it's fair to everyone. And the governing body, which probably me, will ask a standard set of 3 questions. They're below, and the governing body will then be afforded several follow-up questions to that. And then finally, the applicant will provide a 1-minute closing statement. After that, we will all be given our tally sheets. We will rank our choices 1 through 3, 1 being our top choice. And what's that?
It's 1 through 5.
I think we're only ranking 1 through 3, though.
No, 1
No,
through
it's 1 through 5.
Is it 1 through
First,
5?
yeah.
Okay.
If
First
a
time through.
consensus is reached on that first ranking, then there's no need for the second.
Right. If we get consensus of 3 1s, then there's no. And if we do not, then we will go through a second. We'll take the top 3 out of that, and then we'll rank those 1 through 3 as well. So That being said, okay, I think we are ready. Does council have any questions before we start? No? All right, so we will start with David Arnold. If you'd like to come forward, please.
Where do you want me to stand? Right here?
Yes.
All right.
Please speak into the microphone too. So that
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are people probably watching through live stream.
Okay. You want me to just dive right on in?
You bet. You got 2 minutes.
All right. Hello, my name is David Arnold. My wife and I moved to the city of Gardner back in 2012. We've since become homeowners and have started a family here in Gardner. Our oldest son is a student at Sunflower Elementary, and our second son is about 10 months old. I've also started a small business while living here in Gardner. Gardner is our home. This is where we live. This is where we intend on staying. As we continue to grow as a family, we find it increasingly important to help ensure that Gardner grows and prospers and remains safe as a community. I have spent the last 6 years in the planning and development industry of both residential and commercial properties. I currently work for an engineering firm that implements these plans for residential and commercial properties, as well as roads, highways, and bridges. During my time in these positions, I've developed relationships with several builders, developers, and others in the Johnson County area, and I feel that my employment experience and relationships could help bridge any gaps that the city may have in terms of community planning.
Thank you. Okay. We'll go ahead and go into the questions. What are the 3 biggest issues facing the city in the next 3 years, and what steps need to be taken to address them?
So the first issue that I would like to address is the raising of staff salaries. Low staff salaries contribute to a high turnover rate and the loss of police officers, linemen, and others, city employees. The best way to help address this is by raising pay. But to raise pay, we would need to focus on what I see as the second issue facing the city, which is community growth with new developments both in residential and commercial areas. To address the issues of growth, I would say that it is important to get a clear understanding from both developers and builders where and what the issues are and why Gardner does not seem to get the attention from some of the bigger developers and some of the bigger builders in the Johnson County area. Once we can get a clear understanding of their issues, then the city might be able to adjust accordingly where able to get the developers and builders more interested in investing in with the city of Gardner. The third issue that I see the city facing is infrastructure. Infrastructure may be one of the major factors related to community growth. The solution to this may lie with the joint effort between the city and the developers to determine what is needed to interest them investing more in our community. If infrastructure is part of the issue, we could jointly determine what needs to be done, what prices may look like, and maybe come to a solution that benefits both the city and the developers. Additionally, the current infrastructure needs to be properly maintained without increasing the tax burden on existing residents of Gardner. It is also very important for Gardner to offer the same level of quality infrastructure that we may find in other surrounding communities.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, question number 2, identify 3 priorities of the city.
And so that kind of ties back into my answers for question number 1. And those 3 priorities that I see the city facing is going to be increasing in the staff pay, the community growth, and the infrastructure.
And finally, where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
That's kind of a loaded question, I think. The city's going to grow one way or the other. The question is, how do we want Gardner to grow? I believe that with proper city planning and the right partnerships, the city can ensure that the right neighborhoods are built to allow for the city to grow into a desirable community, such as other places near Gardner, other communities, other cities, stuff of that nature.
Thank you. Okay, council, do you have questions, Mr. Arnold?
I have a couple of questions, David. First one is, you had mentioned that you had started a business here in Gardner. Can you disclose what the nature of the business is? And
I am a federal firearms licensee, so I buy, trade, and sell firearms.
okay, great. And then the other question I had for you is, you were discussing issues around, growth and infrastructure improvements. What do you think are the biggest hindrances and opportunities regarding the east side of I-35?
So I-35 on the east side, I don't really see too many issues of what's going on over there. You've got a nice amount of land, you've got the area to expand. I see that being a great opportunity to be able to push that expansion even farther.
I have two questions.
Go
Is
ahead,
that all
Troy.
right?
You bet.
Okay. So my first question is, what made you interested now versus filing to run for election that we just had in November?
So, that's kind of a loaded one as well. I don't have a very valid answer for that one. I've wanted to be on the city council for a while. It's just always been one of those, is now the right time to pull the trigger and go for it and try. Honestly speaking, I think that this gives me the ability to be able to get in here, see what it's like, and understand that before investing that time and investing the money and investing the effort to make that run.
Okay. My follow-up question is, it says you've attended a city council meeting, but other than that, I don't know if it was virtual or if it was in person. What other preparations have you done, studying, et cetera, to ready yourself in case you are appointed?
So I've not been in person in Gardner. Through past employment and whatnot, I've been through city council meetings, Olathe, Overland Park, Lenexa, I've been there. And so I'm kind of coming from it at a different angle as being up here, being able to propose plans and stuff of that nature versus being on your side of the fence there. So for me, being able to be exposed to that has kind of given me the ability to see how things work, what the proper way of the channels are.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick on that, Dave, you mentioned you have the firearms business. Are you still doing any of the other business as well?
I'm sorry?
Are you still working with developers and that business as well, or?
Yes, yeah. So the federal firearms license, that's just kind of a side job.
Sure.
So evenings, weekends, when I have the time for that. But main employment, full-time employment, too much full-time employment is spent doing the engineering and working on. What I do now is I'm taking the proposed plans and we're taking those and implementing those, and I'm creating 3D models out of that with the roads and everything and subdivisions of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
No. You can ask.
If you don't get appointed tonight, would you be willing to serve on other committees or boards?
Yeah, I would be. And specifically, I've got a lot of interest in the Planning Commission because that really deals a lot with what I do. So I think that even if not brought on to the City Council, I would be able to at least extend a hand and help where I could. So.
Okay, thank you. And you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
All right, just kind of recap. I have been in the community for almost 10 years. As I've said, this is our home. We do intend on staying in Gardner. Again, because of my employment background, I feel that I bring experience and professional connections to the table in regard to helping the community grow and recognize any hurdles that may appear while growing. I feel that I would be a valuable addition to the City Council. I want to thank you all for hearing me and giving me the opportunity to become a part of the great team that we've got up here right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, David.
Okay, next up will be Nathaniel Plon.
I we doing?
Evening.
I guess, opening statement, my wife and I moved here 2 years ago, originally from Colorado, and started, work brought me over here working for Cerner, been Overland Park and Olathe and everything. Growing family brought us here to Gardner. We were looking for a place and found that Gardner was just exactly what we were looking for everything, for a city, for community, and all that stuff. And I just want to see Gardner keep that charm that it has now while going into the future and not lose it. So,
Very good, thank you. Okay, so what are the three biggest issues facing the city in the next 3 years, and what steps need to be taken to address them?
I'd say one of the biggest issues, talking to friends and people in my neighborhood and stuff, one of the biggest issues is like utility options. I mean, you have like one option or only a couple options for internet, for different, utilities for our community and stuff. The options are just not there. And I don't know if it's reaching out to different companies. I know there's a company that just is putting in fiber optics in Spring Hill and stuff. I'm working with those companies to see if they're able to come here and opening up those channels. But that's probably one of the biggest issues, dealing with, I talk to in my neighborhood and community. Another one is, growth in housing. Here we have, Gardner's great, but the prices are going up for housing. People are starting not to be able to afford it. We don't see much for apartments, maybe some housing and stuff that more people, my son is 11, in 10 years when he gets out on his own, is he going to be able to afford something? I remember my first house, was a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. You don't see anything like that around here. And then, keeping infrastructure and roads and stuff, I don't want to see traffic, along 56, be deadlocked. How do we work with keeping traffic reasonable? We're not jammed up in certain areas, but that would be a planning and zoning thing on how do we, do the roads. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that right now, but that I could see that coming in the next 5 to 10 years being an issue.
All right, thank you. Identify 3 priorities of the city.
Again, growth, housing and growth, infrastructure, and then businesses. We got the way Gardner's laid out. We have all of our small businesses along Main Street and 56. We're growing out to the west. We're growing out to the east, but there is nothing out there. Some people out near Centennial Park, it takes a while for them to have to go to the grocery store. We only have one. Is there a place we can put another grocery store? Is there other zoning and stuff we can put in, some gas stations and some other stores in other areas of the city? It's something to look into. But as we grow, we can't have everything concentrated in that one spot. We need to look into how we want to design the city.
Thank you. And where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years, speaking of designing it?
I see the city in 5 to 10 years, hopefully keeping the same charm that brought me and my wife here. A very community-oriented city, where everyone knows everyone, but yet still, the good growth that brings all those people here. I see it, what were we, 22% growth in the last census, another 5 to 10 years, if we keep on that, another 22%, we're talking some pretty decent growth. I want to see us in 5 to 10 years. I see us, the feel as we are now, just a larger, closer community.
Okay, City Council, we have some follow-up questions.
Well, I'm going to ask my same ones to everybody. So, what made you interested now versus filing and running in the November election that we just had?
I did not know there was an opening in the November election.
Okay.
And when I saw the post on Facebook for this opening, I thought, I talked to my wife and, is this something, I don't see major issues with the city. I just want to see the city keep what it's got and get in as it grows. And so it wasn't, like, I've got to run. It's like, well, maybe I have something to contribute.
Okay. And my follow-up question was, what have you done to prepare yourself if you were appointed? I see that you haven't been to a city council meeting. Have you watched them online? Have you read minutes and agenda,
I've watched
et
them
cetera?
online, read minutes. My job with Cerner as an interface engineer and stuff, I do a lot of, scrums and collaborative stuff for problem solving. We have to get together with issues, or this is what we're wanting to do moving forward. What is the best way to do that? So, working collaborative with a group is what I do day in and day out. So, a committee type thing is not much different on something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. First one is you mentioned that you came with your family from Colorado about 2 years ago, correct? Is that right? A little bit more than 2 years ago?
Came from Colorado 5 years ago.
5 years ago, my apologies.
Moved to Gardner 2 years ago.
2 years ago, okay. So you lived for 3 years in other areas in the metro then, I'm assuming, probably?
Overland Park and Olathe.
Okay, great. So what brought you here from Colorado? Was it the Cerner job that brought you
Yes.
here? And why Gardner?
Why Gardner? Because I have 3 kids. We actually had to move from Olathe because of the birth of our youngest, and we had a 2-bedroom, needing a 3-bedroom. Gardner provided, we looked up some of the best schools in the area. The housing was affordable for what we sold our house in Olathe to move here. We got much better bang for our buck. And after we moved here, the 2 years has just been, we've literally fallen in love with the city. I mean, the 4th of July parade, how that the fair, the Greenway event that we had a few years ago, all the little events and stuff for that just bring the community together has just been amazing, and just fell in love with the city.
Okay, that kind of brings me into the other question. You mentioned about five years from now, having a bigger but a closer community, having a place where people want to gather and be a part of things, and that kind of dovetails into, you mentioned the Greenway. I was going to mention downtown revitalization. So we've got a downtown project right now that we're looking for investors and things like that. But you had mentioned from your IT background, you're very much into networking. You do scrums and things like that. I'm from the IT world as well. But the question I had was, what do you think is the strengths and weaknesses of our downtown, and how would you improve on it?
The weaknesses would be space. It's already a lot of established stuff, and trying to adjust that for today's, the way things are today with traffic and stuff like that, that would be the weakness. The plus that we have is the charm. All the buildings are in good condition. There's a lot of bones to work with to revitalize that and make it look like something that, it's got all the new stuff, but when people go down, a lot of people, they go down, a city like this, and it holds that old world charm of when the city was founded, but it's got the new businesses and the, people walking up and down the street. That's what about, Gardner that I love, and what I wanted to keep.
I like your frankness and your response. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
And if not appointed tonight, will you serve on other boards and committees?
Yes, I'd be willing to do that.
Great. Got 1 minute then to.
I guess my closing would be my appreciation for hearing me out. I love this city and just want to do everything I can to help. And if I'm not the best candidate here today, it's no hard feelings, and hopefully I'll be able to serve on something else at another time.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, next candidate is Eric Potter.
Good evening.
Evening,
looks a lot bigger on video.
Right.
So do I.
What's that?
So do I.
I'm not even going to comment to mine. My name is Eric Potter. My wife and I moved here to Gardner 2.5 years ago. We moved to the KC Metro in 2017, December, for business opportunities for my wife. What brought us here to Gardner was that business opportunity. She was supposed to go into partnership in a restaurant in Gardner. I'm not going to disclose which one. I want to keep their business private. But that's one of the reasons we moved to Gardner. The other reason we moved to Gardner is because we liked, like other candidates have said, the community presence and the, I hate to be cliche, but the small town atmosphere of being able to talk to your neighbors, the welcoming nature of everyone that we've met here, people that have been here all their lives to people that have been here for 2 years. We just liked the atmosphere of Gardner. What drives me to this position, this opportunity, is the opportunity to protect what makes Gardner great, while at the same time incorporating ideas that will make the community stronger and better. I've worked with business owners for 20 years in my financial services practice. I've run businesses for the last 3 decades, several different types of businesses, so I have a unique perspective on not only running my business, but having worked with other businesses and professionals in other arenas, as well as running retail and other types of businesses. My goal would be to leverage my experiences over the last 30 years to service our city in a way that's going to make us better ultimately for the years to come.
Thank you. Good timing as well.
I was in radio.
All right, thank you. So what are the 3 biggest issues facing the city in the next 3 years, and what steps need to be taken to address them?
I had to narrow my list down. And I know that there are a couple of different things that have been addressed and will be addressed in the coming year or so. The Gardner I35 Interchange is horrible. I'm hoping that the changes to come aren't going to make it worse, but I know that's a concern. Also, Main Street is about 2 degrees above cobblestone, and I understand that's also going to be addressed here in the next little while. I just have to get my car tires changed every month. The projected growth going on at 175, and I know it's a project that's not started yet, I can't remember, Wayfair or whatever the road is, and then on the other side of I-35 is going to bring in a ton of new residents. And I don't think the other side of I-35 has been annexed by Gardner yet, but, oh, it has been?
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to add to the downward pressure on the services that we provide as a city, firefighters, police, and infrastructure as well. The other concern would be everybody coming off of that development there, coming into I-35, is also going to put a lot of downward pressure on the right time of day. It's a pain to get onto I-35 or off anyways. So I think that those are 3 of the biggest issues that we have facing us in the next coming 2 or 3 years.
So then identify 3 priorities of the city.
I think the 3 priorities of the city come down to safety, security, meaning firefighter services, police services, and infrastructure services, electrical, water, all those things. We need to provide competitive compensation and tools for all those people to do their jobs properly and to be satisfied in their jobs, and we're able to retain them. I think that the other priority, one of the other priorities, is to provide a business-friendly environment that is low in taxes in nature to encourage businesses to move in and residents to start new businesses in this area, and again, retain the employees of those businesses so that we keep more of our money local. And I think, again, one of the biggest priorities for the city moving forward is infrastructure. If we can't
maintain and stay ahead by building new infrastructure as we expand, there is not going to be any efficient expansion. There's certain, you can't just go back and rebuild infrastructure in such a way to accommodate what's already been built without undoing too many things, which just adds to the cost.
And where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
Gardner's one of the greatest cities in the metro. Like I said before, we love everything about it. We've planted ourselves here for many reasons. The growth is going to happen whether or not people want it to, and that's just a matter of fact. And again, going back to building out the infrastructure, trying to get ahead of it, is going to help ease that. I think as also we can create Gardner, the downtown in particular, in such a manner that it's a draw for people to come in from other areas of the county and other surrounding counties. It's, as was alluded to earlier, it's one of the greatest downtowns in the area, but it's a bunch of unlocked potential at this point. There's a lot of vacancies that I think could be inhabited by a lot of great small businesses. And I think that if we really focus on fostering a small business environment in the downtown, it's going to become an area that people want to come to, just like Parkville or Baldwin or some of the other surrounding communities, where it's not just simply somewhere that people live and then they go to Olathe to do stuff. They live here and they do the stuff here, and they come from Olathe because, I mean, everybody's in downtown Olathe. It's wonderful. They come here to spend their time and spend their days and make their memories with their kids.
Great, thank you. Okay, council, questions do you have? Tori, do you want to start with yours?
Well, I will. So my question is, what made you interested now instead of running for election
My
in
wife.
November? Oh, okay. And you still have your wife, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't real interested in me to run.
Okay.
In the conversation we've had, when the opportunity came up and we discussed it, she says, "Okay, it's go ahead and go after it."
Okay. And it says that you haven't been to a city council meeting. What have you done to prepare yourself if you are appointed?
I have read the notes, watched the online. I've talked with no intention of ever running for city council initially, but I've talked to the members of the community to gauge what it is that is needed here. What's great about Olathe or about Gardner and what's needed. And at the end of the day, as a city council member, you're representing your neighbors. And that's where I feel that's the biggest responsibility, is representing with those whom you live.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of feel my job to kind of go a little deeper. So you mentioned that you had been here for about 2 years, and you came here from, where did you come from?
We moved in, bought our house in July of 19.
Yeah.
And before that, we lived in Olathe from December 17th to July.
Yeah.
Before that, we were in Florida.
In Florida?
We got tired of not having snow and ice. My wife was offered a business opportunity up here, and that's what got us transferred up here.
I moved up from Florida for a job too, so
Okay.
I understand the pull. So I'm going to ask you what I asked Nathaniel. Why Gardner? Why Gardner? Of any place in the metro, we looked at a lot of places too.
After living in Olathe, honestly, I didn't care for that bigger suburban environment. Overland Park was not our flavor. We looked at all kinds of places all over the place. Her business was going to go in here. It still might, I don't know. And so when we started looking seriously around Gardner, we just loved the way the community was set up. And, you could have your choice of whatever kind of home you wanted to have with a reasonable price. And, I mean, the house that we have, frankly, is beyond anything we ever dreamt of having. So it was just meant to be.
Okay. And then the other question I had is, dovetailing into something else you said. You were mentioning amenities and having the ability to keep the money in town.
Yeah.
Where is the point at which your amenities become to the point where we become like a suburb like Olathe? Because that's a concern of a lot of people, that we become like Olathe.
Because of the proximity of Olathe and the amenities, especially off of 154th Street, and the way that the city has been designed, either naturally or by design, I think there's enough property in the outlying areas where those strip mall type things can go in, and that's again where my focus is, keeping downtown kind of the sweet spot of the city, because I don't care that bigger businesses move in downtown. You know, Walmart, that's fine, whatever. You know, the other areas outside of town, I think, can be developed to whatever they want. But I don't think that we have to try to mimic what other communities are doing in order to bring people in and retain them here long term. I mean, if you want that, move to Overland Park. I don't want that. That's why I moved here. And I think there are a lot of people on that same page that have the appreciation for what we have. And, you know, we're just close enough that if you got to go to Home Depot, you can. It's 10 minutes away. But, you know, I don't think we need a Home Depot in the middle of town, personally.
All right, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
And if not appointed this evening, would you be able
Yes.
to serve on other boards
Yeah.
and committees?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. So 1 minute follow-up? 1 minute closing statement?
As I said, I think Gardner's a great town. We have the opportunity, assuming I'm in the role as a city council, to protect what makes us a great town and design a future for making the community stronger. And I think that we can adjust as needed and get ahead of things when we see things coming down the road. And I think if we do that, we can keep this town as great as it is, no matter how big it gets.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay. Our fourth candidate is Mr. John Tramble.
How's everybody doing? Thank you. Well, my name is John Tramble Jr. I actually ran for city council. I placed fourth, so hey, it was an experience. Like Theodore Roosevelt said about the man in the arena, you gotta get in there. Moved here in 2015, rented, but we actually purchased our home in 2017. I moved here because of a dog. So when my wife said, hey, she found a place to rent, she was my fiance at the time. I'm like, where the F is Gardner, Kansas? Because I didn't know. I mean, I was born and raised in KCK. I didn't know where Gardner was, right? We didn't go outside Wyandotte County. But living here and as the years progressed, I've grown to really love Gardner. Everything these guys said about the small town feel and everything like that, really appealing. But I also know that Gardner is growing and people want to move here because my job as a realtor, I help people find nice homes in nice neighborhoods, safe neighborhoods, decent schools, things like that. And when they mention Olathe, I always give them the option, hey, have you thought about Gardner, right? And the answer I usually get is, ew, that's a little far away, but never been to Gardner, don't know where Gardner is, let's take a ride. And they fall in love, right? So there are some things that needs to be addressed for growth. We'll get to that in about 24 seconds. But I'm just honored to be up here again.
Thank you, John. So what are the three biggest issues facing the city in the next 3 years?
Everybody say it, infrastructure. It's the thing that everyone wants to point out is that, okay, we got a few roads, we have systems in place, but is it enough to address the coming growth? Right? What are our plans for that? I don't have all the answers, and actually very little, but that's where the consensus of the council will come in. How can we best grow and still keep our budget manageable, keep people employed, things like that. So that's it. That's one. Two is, I don't know how to actually say this, but it's community walkability is what I want to say. Gardner is big enough, but yet small enough to where there should be sidewalks that you can walk to anywhere. And some of the disjointed sidewalks around town is like, okay, why? How did they come up with this? All right, you should be able to walk to Price Chopper if you wanted to, no matter where you are in the city, or ride your bike if you wanted to. So we need to make it to where families can get, just enjoy the amenities of Gardner without having to get into a car if they wanted to. With that said, Councilman Baldwin's proposal for Centennial Park, that should be for all the parks and future parks that's being built in Gardner. It should be accessible for everyone, right? And the third thing is, my wife's a nurse, so she goes, okay, we don't have any emergency rooms here. I'm like, well, we have quick care. She says it's not the same as emergency rooms. There should be services for.
Sorry, John.
Okay.
You're close.
Okay.
Identify 3 priorities of the city.
Infrastructure, of course, like we all said. We need to get ready for the coming growth. Was Gardner growing at 0.92% a year? So that means the junior high school, elementary kids that are in school now will need another high school. So what's the plan for that? There are, if you pay attention, there are plenty of food trucks popping up, right? Part of the things for downtown that's been mentioned should be spaces that they can have a sit-down restaurant if they want to open one to create more businesses. If you haven't tried the food truck off of Gardner Road, you should. They have good food. So yeah, that's it pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Before I run out of time.
And where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
Well, like I said, with the growth 0.92% a year, we need to be looking to a crystal ball to see how we can get ahead of some things. Continue to improve on what we have. It was mentioned earlier about pay and everything. We need to think outside the box to attract some people. I mean, yeah, okay, we're gonna give them a raise, we're gonna do this, but there are things that other companies are being inventive with to keep their employees, to attract employees. So we need to come up with some people might call it strange, but just outside the box ideas on keeping people, not just money maybe, but something else. That's it.
Great, thank you. Ms. Roberts.
Well, my first question, I can't really answer.
Yes. No.
So, besides running for election, what else have you done to prepare yourself if you're appointed?
Well, prior life, I was an air traffic controller, and during my career as an air traffic controller, I was elected union president 3 times at 2 different facilities. So, mediation, I was taught. Working with some high type A personalities, if you will. So to have that balance between management and workers taught me a lot. I'm involved in the community. I'm a member of Rotary. I'm a member of the American Legion. As a veteran, I feel it's still my duty to serve my country, no matter what capacity I'm in.
Thank you.
Mr. Trample,
Mr. Shute.
It's nice to see you again,
Nice to see you,
and I've been involved with Rotary and functions. I know you have a real heart for the community and like to serve. So,
Thank you.
my couple of questions I was going to ask you are going to be around what you just said at the end of your presentation, which was thinking outside the box.
Okay.
So you had mentioned about employee compensation. It is a big it's a big issue here.
Yes.
Obviously, because of wage competition with other communities, especially others in Johnson County that have more money that in their budgets than we do. We have to think outside the box. So you mentioned outside the box thinking. Can you give me an example?
You know, that's where we will all have to talk and come together. Trips maybe.
Like enhanced
help-
vacation policy.
Yeah,
Healthcare.
Healthcare,
Maybe some changes. To
some sort of
healthcare.
maybe housing stipend. I don't, things like that. Maybe.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing I had was about walkability. You mentioned downtown and
Yes.
walkability and being able to get from place to place. Would you be averse to, ideas of thinking outside the box when it comes to putting in sidewalks and other kinds of pedestrian infrastructure?
No, that would be something that I think would be a challenge, but something
has
that's
been.
needed. Yeah, that's something
Yep.
that's needed. So.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, John.
And if not appointed this evening, would you serve on other boards and committees?
Well, with my duties in the Legion and the Rotary, if the right fit came along, yes, I would, definitely.
All right. And then, John, you've got a 1-minute closing statement.
Okay. As I said, Air Force veteran, served for my country as an air traffic controller. Service has always been a part of who I am. That's why I'm a member of Rotary. And I believe that's important because I have no agenda. It's just, I take that back. My agenda is to serve the public, not a special interest, not big business. It's to make sure the lives of the people here in Gardner are satisfied. They moved here for a reason. Let's keep them here. Let's keep them happy. Let's keep them to where people enjoy living here, tell their friends to move here. I mean, like I said, as a realtor, I love telling people to come check out Gardner. I really do. So, that's it.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay, and our final applicant this evening was going to be joining us by Zoom, and Mr. Dennis Watson. Mr. Watson, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can right now. Yes.
Perfect.
If you speak into your microphones.
Perfect. Thank you. Is that better?
Yes, that's good.
Excellent. I'm not sure if you have a timer at home, so I'll try and give you a hand signal when we're about 30 seconds out if you need it. But you've got 2 minutes, and if you can like to introduce yourself. And
I'm usually pretty brief.
okay.
I'm Dennis Watson. I've lived in Gardner, Kansas with my new bride for 5 years. We both lost our spouses, and we met 5 years ago, and we both had homes. So I sold my home in Olathe and moved here. I've been aware of Gardner, Kansas for many years. I served as a service technician for office equipment, and I often came to Gardner, and even back in the 80s, and I've always enjoyed being in this town, and I enjoy living here. One of the things that the question was, what are your attributes? First, I just want to say thank you for the mayor and council for giving us the opportunity to do this. I've been involved in a variety of experiences, family life, academic life, military life, work life, worked in inner cities, had my own business for about 3 years back in the 80s. So I see myself as able to work as part of a team member.
About 30 seconds.
Ability to communicate in a positive way. I'm able to discern situations and what are the factors in the situation. Have a high level of compassion for people and their situations. Have ability to distill lots of information and come up to a reasonable decision about situations.
Okay, and Mr.
Yeah.
Watson, that's the 2 minutes. So you did well to
Okay.
keep the 2 minutes. Yep.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to your 3 questions. And the first question is, what are the 3 biggest issues facing the city in the next 3 years, and what steps need to be taken to address them?
Okay, one of the big things that's just been on my mind lately, personally, and I'm sure it's the same for a business, is this rising inflation. Right now, they say it's at 6.8%, and that's just the way it's recently accounted, but I'm sure it's much higher than that. And this will decrease our purchasing power, both as individuals and as a city. A lot of uncertainty and polarity in this nation, coming down from the federal government, and I'm concerned that it not intrude into our community. There's an encroaching warehouse district growing on our south side. A lot of truck traffic into the city related to the intermodal. Some of these things are problematic for everybody. Probably the thing with the inflation is just to make sure our finances are in good shape, that we have a lot of hard assets. Of course, the city does, which will be a help in overcoming the inflation problem.
In about 30 seconds.
Okay. And I see the new development on South Gardner Road is a big asset and a help with the intermodal traffic, providing a place for them to land instead of parking and driving through the city. And also the new regulations on truck traffic through the city. I appreciate that, and I'm sure there's other areas that we can work and manage in.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, identify 3 priorities of the city.
Well, these are related to the strategic goals of the city, which are, of course, promoting the economic development and the work that's been done and is in progress for housing, which is there's 3 or 4 developments, increasing the apartment housing and single family dwellings is very positive. Also, the push to invite businesses. It's good to see the, Freddy's and the other fast food areas, but I think it's been mentioned before, a great sit-down restaurant would be a great asset to this city. And I really appreciate the businesses that are here now, but that would be one way to increase the draw here as well. Also, the quality of life. I think it's really going to be important to pay attention to that as a lot of people are losing employment. A lot of people are getting incentive to not work.
30 seconds.
And so, as much as we can do to increase that, also the, managing our fiscal statements and the fiscal situation, income and outgo, of course, is always a major strategy and priority.
Okay. Thank you very much. Last question is, where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
I really believe that we're going to see a major influx of people. I see it coming from out of state, from the coast, especially California. People are escaping the coastal areas, and this is prime country for influx. People recognize the value of the Midwest, and especially an area like Gardner, Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised if we had 50% growth in the next 10 years. Just double the size of this population. So, of course, then that makes it important to at least have the infrastructure set that will allow for this kind of growth. So, I see that as a great possibility, and as well as a great challenge. More, there's a lot of high level, skill level people out of our area that would be moving here, and a lot of opportunities for new businesses, and all kinds of growth and development. Of course,
About 30 seconds.
go ahead. If the infrastructure is not here, then it becomes more problematic.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to some council questions.
Okay. Well, my standard question is, what makes you interested now for the position versus running this past November?
Good question. I have had no experience in running any kind of a political campaign, and a friend of mine suggested, "Why don't you run for city council?" I thought, I don't know about that, but when I saw the ad in the paper, or just the notice, I'd say, well, here's an opportunity to serve and to be a part of our city and have a voice. And so here I am.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. And then my last question is, it says you attended a city council meeting. What else have you done to prepare yourself if you were appointed to this role?
Okay. The question is, my attendance at the city council meetings has been my main preparation, just to hear and see how this council operates. When I saw the notice in the paper, that was the first time I had any consideration of being a part of it. And so there's not been a lot of preparation. I went to your website and read most of it to just get a kind of a hint of the type of structure and the way the city operates. And I'm very, very pleased to be a part of that. I would be pleased to function within that. And I think one thing I put on my application is I'm teachable.
Thank you.
All right, we're diving deep here. Okay, so the question I had for you is, and I read through your application, and you gave me some very insightful answers on the application. You mentioned a couple of the items that are more macro in nature when it comes to concerns or threats with regard to the city of Gardner. Having served in the chief executive seat in the past, I can probably tell you that you're not too far off on that. But what would you do to protect the city of Gardner from encroachment by the federal government?
Good question. I think the promotion of unity within the city, and a matter of unity upon the council itself, of drawing together, I think it's going to be very demanding upon the state and upon city governments to hold the line against mandates from the federal government. I understand there's such a thing as home rule, and our local law enforcement, local government has a great deal of impact upon what we do locally. And I believe in that. I believe that if we can band together, then we have a great deal of opportunity to set the standard, to maintain our way of life. I believe it's going to be a struggle to be able to do that. And if we're committed to that, I believe if we can stand together, we have a better chance of actually maintaining a more way of life that what everybody wants: safety and prosperity for their family, good schools, all of these things. If we can stand strong together about what we want, then I believe that we'll have a better chance of maintaining the lifestyle that we want.
Okay. And the second question I had was, you mentioned some pretty optimistic population estimates, which aren't not necessarily that far off. I think that we definitely are on a growth curve that's pretty positive. But let's say that the city grows 50%, gets us to about 36,000 individuals within the next 10 years. How do you maintain the feel, the character of our community when you bring in that many people into the city?
I'm sure that will be a very strong challenge for us. I think some of the suggestions that have been mentioned already is to maintain a good city center, promote the development of the downtown area as a commercial and business center, convenience center, a place to gather, the development of the parks, open spaces for community. If there's ways, of course, to develop the housing areas where it doesn't seem to be crowded, keep open space and green space in our new housing areas, I'm sure that will help. And just have a sense of maintaining families and community communication. If there's ways also of making sure that the people that move in feel like that they have a say in what happens in our community. And I believe just the fact that we have open forum right there at every city council meeting will allow people to speak their concerns, and as council members have an ear within the community to be able to hear what people are saying and to communicate it to one another will be a great asset.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate your answers.
And if you're not appointed this evening, would you be willing to serve on other boards and committees?
I would look at that possibility. Yes. Matter of fact, I looked at the different commissions and with an idea of what would I be interested in. I'd have to look at that some more, but I would be definitely interested in serving in some place within the city for sure, because that's who I am. I serve.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Watson, we do offer 1 minute for a closing statement.
You know, just thinking about the city of Gardner, I was just impressed by the fact that when I got here, I started noticing. I had been aware that this region was a drop-off point for the different trails to the west, and that it's kind of a hub. And then just looking at the intermodal, that's a major hub there. And I believe that this city within itself can be a hub of business and activity. And I'm very positive about this city. And the word Gardner itself includes the word garden. And I believe this is a growing, thriving place. If we continue to plant the seeds and cultivate it and water it and
Okay.
just
Your
take
minute's
care
up,
of it.
But thank you. I like that. I like to be in the hub. I like that. All right. Okay, so that
Thank you,
concludes
Dennis.
our interviews, and I want to say thank you to everyone who came. And I know it's not an easy thing to do to get up and speak and get grilled by some of these council people up here, but we've got some great candidates, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's always I appreciate is we get 5 different views of Gardner, 5 different ideas, 5 different thoughts, and things we can do moving forward. So I always get some information from it as well. So I appreciate everyone coming tonight. So next step then is we will, everyone should have, all council people should have their ranking sheet. And we will rank them 1 through 5. And again, 1 would be your top candidate. And when we're done, we will provide those to city clerk.
And please put your name at the top of the page.
And then the city clerk will tally these up, and she'll provide these to our to Mr. Dank for verification. City attorney, of course.
You could say Esquire. Well, that's too far.
And again, just a reminder, if there is consensus with majority, the top pick, we will not go into the second phase. So.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
If we have obviously we would have a selection this evening. Will we swear them in this evening?
Yes, then we would be looking for a nomination in a second.
Yes.
To swear them in, and if we got that and it was approved, then yes, we would swear them in this evening.
Okay. If the winner happens to be on the Zoom call, would that be complicating?
That's a very good question.
I'm just asking.
No.
No, it would not? Okay, we could actually swear them in virtually?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Always there with the answers.
Like we need some music.
Like Jeopardy or something.
Steve, you can sing.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You know you want to, Steve.
No, no.
How about you explain the Antonio Brown?
Oh, gosh. Guy's a nutcase.
I just knew it's Tampa Bay.
Exactly. So being native Floridian, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. They're giving me a hard time over Antonio Brown over here.
So if we lose, you don't want us to rip our shirt off and throw it?
No, don't rip your shirt off and give us the peace sign on the way out the door, please. It's
It could spice things up.
it might. It might.
Get some
I
more
can just
viewers.
imagine the Gardner news articles on that.
Oh,
Okay, Ryan, do we need a drum roll?
I gotta confirm.
Okay,
You have to check my math.
all
I have
right.
an English degree, I don't have a math.
I mean, you sit next to the math degree.
It's true.
Yeah, maybe we should switch who records that.
I bet we could make a spreadsheet that would do it.
You and your spreadsheets, Mark. I mean,
I got this for my dad's Christmas that says, this
Mm-mm.
That didn't happen last time.
Yeah,
We didn't do this last time. That's interesting.
it's very transparent. It's good. I like it. I think the mayor did it last time.
Okay, looks like we do have a consensus majority that have chosen their top candidate, and so we will not need to go to the second phase. So the top candidate chosen with three number one choices was Eric Potter.
Excellent.
So, that being said, do I have a motion to nominate Eric Potter?
So moved.
Second.
So motion Baldwin, second Shoot. We nominate Eric Potter to the city council seat with a term expiring in December 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Congratulations, Mr. Potter.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I would just point of personal privilege, Mayor. I want to thank everybody who came into the room who put themselves out there for this interview process. Please consider joining a committee. If you've not been a part of a committee, please do so. It allows you to get your chops, allows you to get your experience up with regard to how the city works and what happens kind of behind the scenes in some of our departments. It's a huge deal. And if you haven't gone to Gardner U, I think we're going to have some Gardner U or replacement coming at some point. Basically, our city academy. When we start doing those again, we put them off for COVID, but when we start doing those again, please sign up and be a part of that.
Yes, so I believe we'll have a swearing in now.
Yes,
Did you
that's
want to
correct.
come up to the,
We can do it here.
right there? Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Potter, would you like to join me up here?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Eric Potter,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
as council member for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
as council member for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll be sitting there until we have our vote. We're not pulling the chair out from under you.
So you get to jump right into some more new business. Yes. All right. Okay, new business item number 2, consider selecting a president and vice president of the council. And we will do this with nominations from the council, governing body.
And could you give for the purposes of the folks on the call, just the duties, the general duties of the president, vice president of the council, just a little primer there.
Yeah. So president, vice president, in absence of the mayor, at a meeting of formal function, we take the duties of the mayor. And then the vice president is the next in line for that. There is a, yeah, that's probably mostly what it is. Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
pretty much.
So basically, you're assuming the duties of the mayor in that position.
Okay.
So let's start with president.
I nominate Mark Baldwin to serve as president of the Gardner City Council.
I'll second that.
Any other nomination? Okay, so it was moved by Councilman Shute and seconded by Councilman Deaton to nominate Mark Baldwin for president of the city council. Any discussion? Do we go to discussion on this? Questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained. Congratulations, Mark. Thank you. President of the council.
Hey.
Moving to vice president. Is there a nomination for vice president?
Well, I'd like to nominate myself for council vice president. In total, I've served 4 years on city council, same as 3 other city council members. I think I would provide a unique, fair, and dedicated voice to the council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I tried.
Sure, that's okay. Any other nominations? I would nominate Steve Shute.
I don't think you can nominate, Mayor.
Yeah, it is the council. Well,
It says governing body.
It does say governing body?
I was thinking of president. Okay, yes. It does say governing body, so
Oh, okay, I was not sure about that.
that makes sense.
Fair enough. So we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
Again, the Jeopardy music. We should really.
It does say, it says, appointed from members of the city council by a majority vote at its second regular council meeting in January following a regular municipal election. So I read that to say city council.
Yep.
Okay, great. I will
And that
withdraw.
is section 2F of the governing body rules of procedure.
Very good. I will withdraw my nomination.
I'll motion for Steve Shute.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. So, motion, Deaton, second Baldwin, Steve Shute for vice president. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Congratulations, Steve. Okay. Here we go. All right, and we have one last new business item on our agenda. Consider adopting a resolution describing the corporate limits and boundaries of the city. Mr. Headley.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is pretty much a housekeeping item. Kansas state statute requires us to update our corporate limits description every year when the limits of the city have changed over the previous year. In 2021, the council passed several ordinances incorporating pieces of property by annexation. And so this resolution would update our corporate limits to include those. So the staff recommends council adopt resolution 2098 describing the updated corporate limits.
Thank you. Any public comment? Questions, comments, concerns? No? Council, any questions, comments? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Deaton. Do we adopt resolution number 2098, resolution describing the corporate limits and boundaries of the city of Gardner, Johnson County, Kansas, a city of the second class. City clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Potter,
Yes.
Resolution number 2098 passes. All right, moving on to council updates. Let me start with Chief Belcher.
Real quick, you all probably know that we lost 2 members last week to retirement. It was a bittersweet day for both of them. We wish them the best as they move on to future endeavors. Just want to apologize because it's my understanding that we didn't get all the governing body notified of the retirement, so that's on me, and we're going to fix that. So we'll make sure to get that fixed, and my apologies for not getting that out. So.
City clerk.
We do have several openings on various committees throughout the city. We probably should revise the interview teams and get those in place now that we have new
Yes.
council members and see step change.
Yes. Is that something maybe we'll bring back to next?
We
you wanna
can do
that?
it during council updates if you'd like. It doesn't have to be formal.
Do we have to, we can just go ahead and select new interview
Mhm.
teams now, couldn't we?
What do you want to do? Just do it now.
Yeah.
Okay. What all do you need?
Remember who was on the planning commission? That was Tori, and it was the mayor, and it was
Randy.
Randy Gogorczyk,
So
yeah.
Randy would need to be replaced.
I'm happy to replace Randy because I was part of the original interview process. It just makes sense.
Yeah, that okay with everybody? Yeah. Okay.
If you'll attend.
Of course.
You missed a CPAC interview,
One,
just checking.
yes. Well, I won't have to go to every interview now, so that would be good.
I believe he was also on the EDAC selection committee,
Yes.
so he would need to be replaced on that as well.
Would you like to?
Which committee is that?
Economic
Economic
development.
development.
Oh, yeah.
Up here.
Yeah. Finance.
Yeah. I love that.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Well, that was easy. Finance.
For tonight.
Okay. Amy.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Mr. Dink. Esquire. Honorable.
Don't go too far, Ryan.
Nothing. Thank you. Utilities, Gons.
Yes, an update, the electric infrastructure for the immediate phase of Prairie Trace is energized and in service. That includes the Prairie Trace Meadows Estates, the overhead poles that you will see along I-35 in the exit ramp. Then the underground along Clare Road, and also the underground south of the property line that will feed the lift station. The lift station is complete. We need to do the final commissioning this week or next week. Then we have the east interceptor in place. We have the water in. We're working on the west interceptor, and we should have the final design on the west lift station hopefully within 2 weeks. So the primary infrastructure is in place.
This would be for our property on the other side of I-35.
That's what I was gathering. It seems to be the theme of the evening.
Yes, it's a very big deal.
Yep.
Thanks. Is that all?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Bruce isn't here this evening. Community development, Mr. Novick.
Just plain Dave will do.
Plain Dave. Plain Dave.
I have nothing for you tonight.
Okay.
Dave, plain and tall.
Yeah.
Mr. Headley, Public Works.
Nothing further tonight.
City Administrator.
Just if I could have Eric after the meeting for a couple minutes, that's all I've got.
Absolutely.
Let's do that hazing thing.
It's a little cold for the ghost.
The bucket, you know.
Anything for God and country.
Let the record show that none of that is serious.
Councilman Deaton.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know I was invited to speak to a Cub Scout den next Thursday, so I will be doing that as a council member. Wanted to put it out there.
All right.
Thank you, very good. Excellent. Councilman Baldwin, Council President Baldwin, sorry.
I have nothing tonight.
Councilman Roberts.
I have nothing. Thanks for asking.
Council Vice President.
Well, I wanted to ask Matt Wolf about how our financial position looks right now. Do we have any idea? I know that we don't have all the numbers in, but where are we standing right now vis-a-vis our budget with regard to expenses and revenues? A lot of that is because of the fact that, again, we're looking at some compensation issues that we're going to have to address, and do we have any kind of wiggle room at all?
I'd like to kind of address that. So instead of just throwing that out right now, we're
Sure.
going to do something more comprehensive and take a look at that. We're not prepared to.
We're not?
I talked to that. We're not prepared to talk about that in any detail yet.
Okay.
It would just be speculation.
So we don't have any hard numbers before December? Okay.
We had some year-end stuff that went out just last week. And
Okay, that's fair. Thanks.
I think we're definitely on top of that. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we are. I just wanted to see if we had any good news that we could share now. But all right, thank you.
Councilman Potter.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Very good.
Welcome
Glad
aboard.
to have you on board. Thank you. Looking forward to it. And for me, I did want to say thank you to Parks and Rec. I know they're not here this evening, but they helped out a citizen with a plaque on one of the benches honoring someone who recently passed away, and they were very appreciative. And he was right on top of it, got it done, and made some good suggestions. So I want to thank them for that. Other than that, I have nothing else. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoots. Second Deaton, that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are on adjournment. Oh, welcome aboard.